Hey guys, so for my presentation I decided I'm going to show you guys how to pull the engine out of a car. This is my old BMW. It's a 4-cylinder. So there's a few different reasons why you want to pull the engine. One being the engine's no good anymore. It had a failure, like the head gasket blew or something, so you just want to get a new engine in there. Or maybe you want to put a totally different engine in. That's what I'm doing. So I'm just going to show you guys how to actually pull the engine out safely. Okay, so the things you're going to need to actually swap out the engine are your safety equipment, of course, steel toes, glasses, gloves. But to pull the engine, you actually don't need too much. As long as you have an engine hoist, which you can rent them, Canadian Tire and stuff like that. And you just need like a basic set of tools, really. Like there's nothing too complicated here. It's just nuts and bolts to pull it. So whenever you do anything to a car that involves the electrical, you want to disconnect the battery. So this battery happens to be in the trunk. All right, there we go. The next thing we're gonna do is you want to make sure all the fluids are out of it. Fluids are gonna pour out of this radiator hose and the engine block. So you want to drain all your fluids. So we'll start with the radiator fluid here. There's a cap. And normally the drain is always at the bottom. So it's actually right there. Super easy to get at. All right, so now we'll just let that drain. So in a lot of cars, the whole front clip actually comes off. So the whole grille, headlights, everything to here forward is just gonna come right off. That way I can take out the tranny and the engine at the same time, and it's way faster and way easier. So I'll do that now. Okay, so now we're taking out the radiator, and this hose here is stuck on the thermostat housing, metal part here, because it's been on clamp for so long. So a trick I like to do is just take any screwdriver, flathead, and just push it in there, kind of wiggle it around, and it gets it all loose in there. So now I should be able to pull her off, and you can see how crusty that is. It's been sitting forever. So most radiators just are bolted in the top, but this one actually has these pull tabs. So you just pull them out like that. So now this side. And the bottom isn't actually bolted to anything. It's literally just sitting in there like that. And now the radiator can come out. Okay, so to remove the front bumper, there's actually these 4 nuts right here on each side of the car that we undo, and the whole front bumper comes right off. So we're at the point now the bumper can slide off. All right, so it just comes right off. We've just got this upper rad support piece. Should also just slide right off there. And now I've got full access to the front of the motor. The material and information provided in this video is strictly for general information purposes only. You shouldn't solely rely on the information given in the video to remove a car engine. Dangerous procedures that I do not condone are as follows: lifting a car with straps connected to your roof, chaining your engine to a tree and then going in reverse so the engine flies out the front, and any other irresponsible shenanigans. Any action taken, used, information provided is strictly at your own risk. I cannot accept any responsibility or liability for these actions. Side effects of pulling an engine may include, but are not limited to, sore back, tennis elbow, hurt shoulders, plantar fasciitis, arthritis, grumpy mechanic syndrome, and possible death. Okay, so next we can start disconnecting all the wiring. All this is the wiring for the engine. This is all connected. This is the ignition coils, fire the spark plugs. This is the ECU behind here that controls the engine. Now we gotta take the exhaust off. So just it undoes here, one bolt on top, one bolt on bottom. This is exhaust O2 sensor for the wideband. The turbo actually stays on with the exhaust. That'll come out with the manifold. We're gonna have to undo the fuel line from this pressure regulator here. It's gonna have to come off. The power steering lines are all gonna have to come off. This is the power steering reservoir for the fluid. It all goes down to the rack and pinion. This is what gives you your steering, rack and pinion. So yeah, we'll get that disconnected. Done with all this wiring now. Normally when you swap an engine, you unplug all the wiring that goes to the engine, like this cam sensor you'd unplug, this throttle position sensor you'd unplug, all that. But since I'm going with a totally different engine, I'll be not needing any of that. So what I'm doing now is actually going through the whole engine wiring harness. This is all the wires for the computer that run the engine. So they all plug into that, but I'm not gonna need that. So basically what I've been doing is going through, labeling all these wires that I am gonna need that are connected to the body. And basically all these wires that are for this engine, I'm not gonna be needing. So I'm basically just gonna be cutting those out. And okay, so now the car is up in the air and we're gonna wanna grab this slave cylinder that activates the clutch in there. Take that off. It's just one bolt on the bottom, another one on the top. And we're gonna wanna deal with the exhaust. Now, somebody's had a good time with this exhaust system. As you can see, these welds aren't quite up to spec. They've welded about 6 different exhausts together. Yeah, there's another nice weld there. And another one. I don't want to take this whole exhaust system out. It's just a couple bolts and that's it. Okay, now we've got that exhaust out, we can work on the drive shaft. The drive shaft sends the engine power to the rear wheels. So normally there's a U-joint right here, but being a BMW, it's a bit different. I'm just gonna have to undo these 3 bolts here, and that's all that connects it. All right, so now I got these 3 bolts undone. That drive shaft should actually slip off there. So it's coming right out. And these 2 transmission mounts are next. And after that, that's all we have to worry about with the transmission, because we'll pull the whole transmission forward and the drive shaft will stay where it is. Now that we have the transmission mounts undone, we can go ahead and do the engine mounts. So they're just right in here. Both the engine mount sides have a ground. That wire, that just grounds the engine to the body. So there's a bolt right there. And on the other side, another bolt in the same spot. And we'll undo those now, and the engine will be ready to come out. Okay, so we're at the point now where we can actually pull the engine out. So we want to grab something strong like a chain. Okay, so now we're ready to pull this engine out. So what I've done is wrap this side of the chain around the intake manifold, and the other chain is around the exhaust manifold. So we're basically ready it out. I want to make sure that crane is right in the middle of the engine. It's about the middle there. And you can go ahead and lift it out. Alright, so the engine's free now. It's no longer on those engine mounts in there. You can see it is ready to just hopefully come right on out. All right, so we can see the oil pan has cleared the cross member there, and we can probably just yank it out. So just double check you got nothing hooked up here. And it looks like we're all good. So, yeah, so that tranny might hit the cross member, so I'll just jack it up a bit more here. Alright, so now just keep yanking it out. And like that, it's out.